coronavirus. There are free versions of Pear Deck and Nearpod, and there are paid versions of Pear Deck and Nearpod. They've given us the features of the paid versions for the time being. There's always Google Slides, and then you guys use Seesaw quite a bit. So Seesaw is another one, and I know I've worked with some people over here on Seesaw. They have a lot of resources too. I mean, Seesaw has a lot for you there. So you can use any of those for lecture or direct instruction. If you want to do a performance assessment or an activity or a take-home lab, there's a lot of things you could do with that. I have a take-home lab linked here that I have my physics students do. It's very simple. It has very simple materials that they can find at home, and then they can type in their information, analyze it, turn it in a classroom. Again, Seesaw has a lot of things. Seesaw has a ton of stuff. So, and I don't know it all. It's all sorted by grade level. I don't use Seesaw a lot, but I have used it. Google Arts and Culture is pretty cool. Not a lot. No lesson plans with Google Arts and Culture. So you got to go out and find your lesson plans, how to use it. But there's a lot of neat stuff in here. You can do virtual field trips. You can go to museums. I mean, there's just a ton. You can do 3D art. A lot of things you can do in Google Arts and Culture, but there aren't any lesson plans associated with that. I don't think Colorado FET works for elementary level. Colorado FET is math and science sims, and I think it's middle school, high school only. So I don't think you guys would find that real helpful there. If you're going to do collaboration, discussion, online reading, we talked about Google Chat. Flipgrid's pretty awesome. I've never done a Flipgrid. It's a short little video the kids can create. Blogger's pretty neat. It might be a little above your kids' levels, not sure about that. You obviously have the G Suite application. If you haven't done Insert Learning, you should do Insert Learning. If you want to do any online reading, it's awesome. You can pull up an article, and you can edit that article, put in questions, have the kids annotate. You can annotate. You can have the kids answer questions. It's very, very neat. Is this where I was? No, this is where I was. So if you haven't used Insert Learning, give it a shot if you want to do some online reading. You have to find the articles, but then you can edit those articles in Insert Learning, and they will save right there in your drive for you. So it's pretty neat. I do that. I didn't think I'd ever use Insert Learning when I first saw it, but now when I find articles online, I'm like, oh, I should really have the students reading this. It's up to date. It's new information. It relates to what we're covering. So I'll usually use Insert Learning so I know that they've done a little bit of reading. They maybe could scan it or whatever, but at least they've done something. If you're looking for creativity, I have some links for here. Flipgrid again. I like Flipgrid, you can tell. But there are a lot of uses for Flipgrid. And then some other ideas for creativity projects. So you could do combined collaborative slide decks for your class. You could do Google Drawings and have them do different things in Google Drawings. There's a lot of ideas in here for creativity. For assessment, so we had a whole discussion at the middle school, high school about assessment, and I've had lots of questions on assessment. So how do you assess a kid and know that they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing? And it's a fair question, and the answer that I have for you is you really can't. Okay? Even if you lock them down in a Google quiz, yes, their Chromebook is locked in a Google quiz, but who's to say they aren't accessing their phone or their parent's computer or their parent's phone or their gaming system? We talk about kids who don't have internet, then we'll go to the other extreme for kids who have 5 devices or six ways to access the internet. So how do you know they're not sitting there you don't. They could be accessing the internet to find the answer to the Google form question. But my 2 responses to that are, well, so one, you could spend forever and write an assessment where you have multiple choice questions that they can't just type in and find a piece of factual information. I mean, I don't do that. The AP College Board does that very, very well. Right? I give all my students all the resources in the world, and I'm probably looking at an 80% success rate on some of their multiple choice questions. We don't have time to do that. The second piece of that is I used to give my kids Google quizzes when they weren't Google quizzes. They had to read the chapter and then they had to answer questions in a Google quiz. And 9 times out of 10, I have honest kids. You know, I mean, nope, I didn't cheat, Mrs. Hoffman. And usually, much to my dismay, their score will show that. So, but you can't guarantee. We have GoGuardian, so you could, you know, log in and watch what they're doing on GoGuardian, but again, you don't know what they're looking at off to the side or in behind or whatever the case may be, but you can monitor some. These are quiz apps. I don't usually use those for summative assessment, but they are good reviews. But here's a good idea for Flipgrid. So you have your kids practicing whatever it might be that you need them to practice, learning whatever they might need to be, and then you set up a time and say, hey, we're going to meet face to face at whatever time, 2 o'clock, and I'm going to give you 3 problems from what you've been working. And then they actually have to do those 3 problems right then and there and record it in Flipgrid and then turn it into you. So you can actually watch what they're doing. Now that might set some kids off. It might make some kids feel very uneasy because you're looking over their shoulder, just like when you're looking over their shoulder in classroom. But it is a way to make sure that they aren't cheating. Edpuzzle's got some good features. If you haven't used Edpuzzle, it's pretty neat. Lots of things to do in Edpuzzle. Again, if you're going to use Edpuzzle, make sure you log in with your Google login. If anybody has not used Edpuzzle, you can pull in any video that you want from pretty much anywhere. You can make your own videos, pull them into Edpuzzle, and you can add multiple choice questions. You can add short answer questions. You can add audio over the top. So sometimes when my videos are really screwed up, I'll just keep the video, take off the sound, import it into Edpuzzle, and then record over with my voice what I should have done the first time. So you can do that. There's a lot you can do with it. You can have the kids do their own Edpuzzles, which is a really nice assessment piece, because then they got to go find videos and add questions. So that's kind of a neat thing. I've had lots of kids say, well, that's really beneficial, because then they actually have to look at what's in the video from there. So, but there are ways to assess, although if we're out a month, which we hope not, but if we're out a month, we're going to have to do some assessing, I would guess. So, talk to others. We have a wealth of resources just within our district and ourselves. Talk to your professional organizations or access your professional organizations. Mrs. Brewer and I were just having a conversation this morning. She's got resources from her professional organization already. Most of you have probably gotten those coming across in your email. Ask for help. Anybody, ask anybody for help. I mean, even something as simple as Mr. Swanson and I were having a conversation. He's like, I really wish I would have asked kids what they have at home so that I could give them physical activity. I said, well, I'd make that your first assignment. You know, so there wasn't anything digital about it. He's like, oh, I can do that. And that means they have to actually go and look and see what they have at home. Maybe have them take an inventory of the equipment they have at home, and then you can build off of that. I'm going to have them play, whatever it might be. I don't know. But he knows more than I can only come up with basketball because I'm really missing basketball. But you know. And then everything doesn't have to be digital. Because I'm going to have my kids actually do physical labs. I'm going to have them go into their kitchen and look for acids and bases. I'm going to have them come up with some way to test acids and bases. You're going to have to do some research. What substances can I test acids and bases with? I'm also going to put out there the safety caveat. Please don't do this on your pet or your younger sibling. You know, but there are things that they can find in their home that they can do these things with. So they're going to have to hand it in digitally, and they're going to have to communicate with me digitally. They're probably going to have to take some pictures along the line so I know they actually did it and didn't go out and find somebody else's project online. So those kinds of pieces help with assessment. This is really basically, we went over this for the one-day pilot, but the idea that your lesson should be the same as a lesson that you would have here. You have your expectations, okay? You have some kind of an assessment piece, and maybe that's not every lesson, maybe that's every other day or something and then the big piece that we got from a lot of the districts when we went to Slate, Mrs. Catherine and I went to Slate, and we went to a couple of districts that are already or had already been doing remote learning. The big piece is don't give them hours and hours and hours of work. They found that there were teachers that were giving them like 45 minutes of actual writing and then another 45 minutes of reading because they thought they had all day. Well, and then these kids were doing all of this work, but they were starting their work at 9 o'clock in the morning and they weren't finishing up until 6 or 7 o'clock at night, those that were internally driven. So keep that in mind, the timing of it. It shouldn't be more than what you do on a normal day. I mean, so if you give them 44 minutes, and I go to our schedule, 44 minutes, and then we have 20 minutes of homework that we expect them to do. I don't want to give them any more than that to do on their digital learning day. They're gonna become angry about it if we do. The other piece that we had here was, so a lot of our teachers are with ed puzzles or things, because it was a one-day event, so that's great. So some people learned some new things. We had somebody try Nearpod. So we learned some new things, but we can't do an ed puzzle 5 days next week, or 2 weeks from now. Our kids will hate it. They actually already have a little bit, they don't like ed puzzle because you can stop them from moving forward in the video, so. But if they did an ed puzzle every day, they're gonna be like, oh my God. Or if they had every teacher do an ed puzzle every day, I mean, they just would be no fun at all. And just as, I don't know if you guys know any feedback, but we got a lot of feedback from our younger students, our 9th and 10th graders did the virtual learning day and they loved it for the most part. Our seniors hated it. Our juniors didn't have to take it because they were taking the ACT. So our seniors felt like it was filler work. Not that our seniors hated it. They felt like they were being given work to fill in their time. The freshmen and sophomores were like, you mean I get to sleep in? I can sleep until 10 o'clock, get up in my PJs and log on. And we did have quite a large participation. You know, I mean, I had kids logging on at 9 o'clock in the morning looking for their assignment and doing their assignment. So, another piece is to keep it simple. Too hard, and they will give up. They won't access you for help. It won't be a natural thing for them to do that. To be like, oh my gosh, I don't understand what she's asking me to do. They won't, most of them, won't get on the email and go, I really don't understand this at all. They just won't do it. And then they'll come back, well, so that was our one day, but I'm afraid if we go too hard, they're just not gonna do it. And then they're just gonna give up, and then we're gonna lose them for longer than a week, potentially. So, we talked a little bit about posting your assignment, but Google Classroom is what primarily we're gonna use. Some of you might have others. Seesaw's a place to post assignments. If you have Moodle, you guys don't have AP Classroom, so that wouldn't apply to you. There are some other LMSs. We discussed over at the high school, middle school to try to keep it as consistent as possible. So they have as few places to go as they need. So 95% of our teachers are gonna use Google Classroom. A couple others are gonna use the website. Unless they're really familiar. I mean, a couple of us as AP teachers are gonna continue to use that resource because it's an invaluable resource and you can't take anything out of the AP Classroom, so. And then we have an assignment list. Again, I think that's something you guys have to work out. So we have an assignment list where we have to put all of our assignments. So this is from our one day pilot. So the kids have, so in Google Classroom would be individual, per individual teacher, per individual classroom. This is for everybody. And so it's aligned alphabetically for classes that had to participate on that day, because some classes had all juniors, so they didn't have to list or post. But we listed the assignment, and then you listed where you posted it. I recommend if you're gonna do the assignment list, and we talked about this at the middle school, high school, that if you're gonna post something in Classroom, which is what I recommend, then post the Classroom link to the assignment sheet. So there's just really, so parents can come here and say, oh, you have whatever for whatever, and then the link will take them to the classroom assignment, and then they know whether or not the student did it. Otherwise, you got them going to a link here, and they might have a link someplace else, whereas in Classroom, you can kind of house everything, and you can actually just post the link to the classroom assignment here, is what I recommend. Just a thought. But we have, Mrs. Cashman has sent out, or will be sending out to us, we will have a middle school tab, a high school tab, and then underneath those tabs, we will have days of the week. So March 30th. You don't have to put something in there every day. I mean, you could do a lesson plan or a hyperdoc for a whole week, and just post that link, and then you're set for the whole week if your lessons take you there. So just a thought. That's something I think you guys are still working out over here. I don't know. So there's that. Let's see. So I'm not going to go through all these tools. We've had a lot of in-service, at least in the past, we've had a lot of in-service on digital tools. This is simply a resource list of tools that I have found that are very, very useful. Some of them you'll see are repeated on here. Just want to point out a couple of pieces that I didn't talk about. But this right here, Mandy Gill sent. So it's an article that talks about 16 free resources you can read it. Some of them I'd never heard of, never used, but they're there, so you can do that. If you've never gone to Common Sense Media and you're looking for stuff, it's got a whole, even for parents, it has a whole section for parents, it has a whole section for educators. They talk a lot about what's appropriate. It's like a Reader's Digest, kind of, sort of, for media. No, not Reader's Digest, Consumer Reports for media. They will rank the sites, they will tell you what they're best used for, they will tell you if they're worth the cost or not, or if there is a cost associated with them, and not much of that's been forgiven for us for now. Common Sense Media has just a ton of stuff, both parents and teachers. Blend Space, if you want to organize your unit, is a great housing place. In Blend Space, you can pull in from your drive, you can pull in from Edpuzzle, you can pull in from your laptop, you can put it all together. And I have a Blend Space lesson that I've done. And then the kids can start at the top, upper left-hand corner, with whatever you have. So they open the doc, they fill it out, they hit next. If they're ready, they go on to the next thing. Whatever you have for them to do next, it's all housed in one place. If you really want to do a big picture kind of thing, it's a nice piece for that. Or if you just want to keep things together, so you've put this whole digital unit together, you want to keep it in one place, this is a great place for it. This is a resource that I got from WSST, the Wisconsin Society of Science Teachers. They sent it out to everyone. So there are a lot of learning platforms here. This is all teacher driven. It's all feedback from teachers. So this is what it's good for. A lot of them say whether or not it's free. And then across the top, they have subject areas. So here's ELA, and then they get into the grade level here, and then feedback from teachers. So this is all teacher driven. They have a lot of science stuff with WSST. But anyway, it's here for you to use. I linked it. They want everybody that can have it, have it. This does not hold though. You can't add. I don't know what they're thinking there. And I couldn't figure that out. So if somebody figures that out, let me know, because I couldn't edit it. Last but not least, if you've never read Matt Miller in Dish That Textbook, he's sent out 50 free resources. He's just got a ton of resources. But he has like, I don't think he does anything else ever. But he has like free Venn diagram templates. He has free slide deck templates. He has lots of suggestions. He wrote the book, Ditch That Textbook, and now he has a whole bunch of other things and then he sends out these resources in response to the coronavirus. So if you want ideas, Matt Miller's awesome. He gives a lot of free stuff. I mean, obviously he wants you to buy his book, which I did, but still he gives out a lot of free resources. So these are all links to resources. Some of them are the same as what we had before. Why is it now writing? What did I do? Jared, I don't know what I did.
What's that?
It's writing now. So what did I do?
It's writing?
Yeah. Oh no, I guess I have a laser. I don't know. Anyway, these are all lesson examples that I put together. These are all pretty much mine. So apologies in advance, they're really science driven. But I put together a lesson in Google Docs. I have my take-home lab here. I have a collaborative slideshow presentation. Here's a lesson I put together in Google Drawings. Here's all right, how do I go back? So these are all just examples of things that I've put together. You can look at them or not, that's up to you. Here's examples of performance tasks, just some ideas. Again, you're going to get more from your colleagues than you are from those probably. So then this is what Mrs. Cashman gave to us on the pilot. And this might be something that you guys need to hash out. But we had to have, and again next week, or the week of March 30th, we have to have our lesson plans posted no later than 9 a.m. each day. If you put together the whole week, you just post the same link the whole week, it's done by 9 a.m. You need to be available for your students then, and obviously we still have the same scoring and all of that. We do not have the requirement that they will be required to meet as a class. So the students can get up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon if they want and do their work from 2 to 6. So you can still set due dates can still have that expectation. It's just they're not gonna be coming to your physical classroom. We have to have office hours, and we did have a conversation over there about when we might have those office hours, that we might try to come to some kind of consistency so that they, again, our situation's a little different than yours, so that they're not being asked to be in my office hours from 8 to 9, and Dan Heckman's office hours from 8 to 9, and Jessica Doherty's office hours from 8 to 9. So one kid can't, be in all those classes if they need help in all those classes, and we only offer that time. So we're gonna try to come up with some kind of a schedule for that. We want some flexibility for the kids. We don't want it to be overwhelming and a terrible experience for them, nor us, although you might feel like it's a terrible experiment right now. And then this was from our pilot day, because our seniors were not happy campers. So this was put out there to try to help them to be responsible and polite human beings.
Kelly, can I ask you a question about office hours?
Yes.
Okay, so with office hours, I'd like a little clarity on what's expected with office hours. Does that mean that you're available?
That means
during
that we are available during that time.
Okay, so at that time, we could do a conference with kids or an email with parents or something along that line. So it's just, this is when I'm here and I'm available immediately if you were to need something.
I think the key word there is immediately. So during that time, I am immediately available to answer your questions.
Okay.
Because the
Unless, of course, your
expectation is we
conferencing
would
would.
still be available for our designated school day. And that was something else that we talked about. That's the key word there, immediately. Because, so like, for example, I'm not available to all kids at 9:30 in the morning, because I have a class. But I am available to them, for them to come in and ask a question. Do you know what I'm saying? So.
Oh, I do, I think if someone's in a conference call with somebody, obviously then.
Yep, and we had that conversation, and we said, so if you are conferencing, there's chat, so then that person, if they want to get on, you just chat them and say, hey, I'm busy with da-da-da-da right now, I will be with you as soon as I can. Because the expectation may be that you may not be just for that hour, you may be working past that hour if you have a number of students who are asking for help. But as long as so that was the other piece. Your school day is your school day. So 7:45 to 3:45 are our contracted hours. We oftentimes we work more than those contracted hours. But when we went to Slate, one of the teachers was there and he was presenting, and he was like, the very first day they did it, he was all excited and ready to go. He was up and ready to go at 7 o'clock in the morning. And he worked until 11 o'clock that night, because he had some kids that were logging on at 8, and then he had some kids who weren't logging on until 5 to complete their work. And so they learned really fast to say, if you need your questions answered, I will be available until 4 o'clock. So that's something I think we need to lay out. We discussed that we would do that on our own. Because some of us, like Sarah will email me at 7 o'clock at night if she knows that I'm going to be online. I have a question on what I'm working, so I'll email her back. Or I'll have, that kind of thing. But some of us don't want to do that. Some of us want to be done. We don't want to talk to our kids after 4 o'clock or whatever it might be. So that's a clarification and they learn really fast. Because you have some of your AP kids who are, they're studying long hours. So.
Yeah. Do we need like an evening me time? Because I know another school district did evenings that with parents could reach us if parents aren't always home during the workday because of this and that.
We didn't talk about that, but that is a good point.
I'm just seeing parents are probably gonna reach us more with questions and concerns than.
Yes, I would agree. Caregivers, that was another, so even for us, even at the middle school, high school, we may have older students who are caring for younger students, so do they have time to do their schoolwork if they're taking care of their younger sibling? Or children going to care, although in this case, I think more people will be home than not. I mean, at least I'm hoping people are respectful of what they're being asked to do and telecommute if they can. Maybe I'm overstepping my bounds there, but you're right. There certainly would be that consideration, and I suppose as an individual, we did not talk about that, so you guys could talk about that.
You could even split it. You could do an hour in the morning from 10 to 11 and an hour from 4 to 5 or 5 to 6 or 6,
Because I think they're gonna have questions as well. Parents are gonna have questions as well, and this isn't gonna be clear cut. And other districts talked about sending out a message to the parents. and saying, hey, especially the older kids, the younger kids more, here's what we're doing, here's how you get to this, here's how you, the more of the how-to. But the older kids, the districts are sending out letters saying, hey, check in with your kids, please. Don't just say, hey, did you go to your email today? Actually walk over and see if they went to their email and see if they accessed their assignments. And they weren't saying it quite as blunt as I'm saying it, but basically that's what their letters were saying. Check in with your kids and make sure they're doing their work, kind of thing, because they are being held accountable. It's going to be a learning curve for everyone, including parents as well, I think, so.
So, actually, if you set up conferences in that, you probably should set those up outside of your office hours then, like, almost keep your office hours there if someone needs help rather than doing some conferencing like that, you could set that up some other part of your day.
You could.
And then it won't interfere with your office hours.
Yeah. Especially if you have some that are gonna get long, we have some actually pretty long problems, so, yeah. I don't know, so I think I did. Yep, so we talked about that. And then the last page is just an additional resource list. This is if you really have a lot of free time on your hands. Like, this is what DPI had before the coronavirus came. This is what DPI has now. It's a lot more. So if you really want to go in and dig, they really talk a lot about what are other states doing, what are other schools doing, what does DPI expect. We have the Michigan Virtual and Wisconsin Digital Learning Collaborative. I put the teacher guide to online learning, but this collaboration here, they have a ton of stuff. They have a whole book for parents on digital learning. How do we do remote learning as a parent? How do we do remote learning? I mean, books. This is a whole book if you really want to look at that. These are some other video conferencing tools if you choose not to use the two that we have. And then Mandy sent this out, and more of these are more like administrative considerations for things. So it's just additional resources. Mrs. Mertz wants me to add BadgerLink and one other one, so I'll add those on here for kids as well. And that's really all I have for today. So, other questions, ideas, thoughts, concerns?
You have the BenQ interactive flat panels. You can record on those devices also. So you have a few days here. If you want to try it. So if you have your normal teaching in front of the students on the BenQ board, I'll just pretend your students are there and you can record your lessons.
Can I add to that? Okay, so that's true, and the BenQ boards are wonderful. It's the easiest thing in the world. You hit record, it records, you hit stop, it saves it, you copy and paste it into your drive. The one thing you have to be careful about is that you consistently face the BenQ board for the microphone, or you consistently face your computer. Because what I run into in class, and I'm fortunate to have a BenQ board, what I run into in class is I'm usually writing, and then I'm going out and doing stuff with kids, and then I'm going back up and writing, or whatever. And so then I'll pop the video in for a kid that's been absent, and they'll be like, I don't understand a word that you said in the whole thing, because I'm back and forth and I don't have that microphone in my room. So just be careful that you won't have that problem if you're doing it in the next few days. But it's really easy, very easy. And go borrow, that was something that Mrs. Cashman said, go borrow a BenQ board if you want to do that. Be kind to those that have it and say, hey, could I borrow your BenQ board to make some videos? Because it is very, very easy, very easy. Others?
Do you have any microphones that you could use while you're doing that?
I have no knowledge of any microphones. We might, but I don't know about them. I'm not very good at those pieces, putting those pieces together, so. Jared, do we have any microphones?
Is there a headphone jack on the BenQ boards? I don't even know, because I don't use them. So I do know Mrs. Dykstra has some microphones that, are those little ones you put on your shirts and stuff. But other than that, we don't have microphones that I know of.
Anything else for the good of the cause, for me?
There's a microphone right there. We got one. Right there.
Use the pops separate.
That's all I have.
Well,
That's
thank
all I
you.
have. so.
Thank
Good luck. And have fun. I mean, you get to sit at home in your PJs too.
Mrs. Hoffman, I do have a question beforehand.
Anything, anybody have anything else, or?
Kelly?
Anybody not get
you. You
cheese?
wanna get out of here?
Hungry. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I've already gotten a couple of, people checking me out, so.
I just thought you were gonna walk around.
They're coming up and stuff, but I'll just make my rounds.
I always
Doctor.
ask before I do. Sometimes you get into stuff. Oh, I
I will be this afternoon. Just don't worry. I'm gonna be-
Jared, you want me to turn the video on?
That would be great.